Hello again. With us this morning to review the papers, Nigel Nelson, the political editor of the Sunday Mirror, and the political commentator, Nikita Malik. Nikita, Nigel, good morning to you. So lovely to see you so early on a Sunday morning. Let's kick off with the Mail, shall we? And obviously the one story that everyone is talking about, whether they want to or not. Nigel, Liz Truss, I'll spike Sunak's tax hike, says the Mail.
Yes, and all the leadership contenders are beginning to come out of the woodwork now and declaring in various different papers this morning. Liz Truss was a bit behind the curve because she was on a foreign trip to the Far East. But in the Mail on Sunday, she's laying out what is obviously going to be sort of the campaign ground, which is tax cuts. That it seems that all the contenders reckon that Rishi Sunak is the man to beat. And of course, Sunak is not terribly keen on tax cutting. So they're all coming out and saying that's what they'll do. And Liz Truss is telling through aides to the Mail on Sunday that she would scrap Rishi Sunak's national insurance rise. Question is how, in fact, that where she would get the 12 billion from, which is going towards the NHS and social care. But this whole tax thing is bizarre in a sense that, you know, here we are with inflation running rampant, and Rishi Sunak's against tax cuts quite simply because you can't have tax cuts and high public spending. So it's a question of one or the other, and of course it'll fuel inflation. But it's clearly the candidates reckon this is the ground to be battling on.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Nikita, what do you make of it? Do you think they are all just rounding on Sunak?
Well, yes. I mean, I think Nigel makes a very important point. It's kind of, we've seen that there are a number of serious candidates now for the Conservative Party leadership. And it's now a question of how they can differentiate themselves. But really also goes back to the heart of what conservatism is. Besides the issues that we've had with integrity that have led to the Prime Minister's Boris Johnson's resignation, we also have issues to do with what conservatism stands for. And of course, one of the central tenets of that is low tax. So it's not surprising that given this candidate race is happening, so many individuals are coming out now to lead the party and trying to differentiate themselves with the different types of taxes that they might be cutting to appeal to that voter base.
Nigel, what did you make of? What do you make of the fact that there are so many people running? There are 8 today, right? Did you see Tobias Elwood tweeted, "I think I'm going to be the only one voting because everyone else will be running."
Yes, yeah, it seems to me that there's more runners than voters at the moment. I mean, they will whittle this down. That the backbench 1922 committee meets tomorrow, and they will set the rules. But I think they're going to have to actually whittle this down so they can get everything done in about 2 weeks for the MPs voting, so they can go to the membership. So the kind of things being talked about at the moment, you need 10 MPs to support you to get on the ticket. They could raise that to up to 20 to try and actually get some of them out of the race. And a few of them aren't really serious candidates. All they're looking for is a cabinet job under the next Prime Minister.
Yeah, that's always the case, isn't it, though? That they do, a lot of people declare simply because they want to put their name out there.
Yes, and also it means that if they can pick up a few supporters, they've then got a bargaining chip with whoever is the leadership favourite by saying, I'll bring my supporters over if you give me Secretary of State for whatever.
The Telegraph, Nikita, why are they saying that this is one of the bloodiest battles to succeed the PM in the party's history, not the country's?
Yes, I thought that was a very interesting piece today in the Telegraph, and kind of touches upon what we've discussed already. First is the sheer number of candidates that everyone is kind of throwing their hat in the ring. And that's why the kind of the title of the piece is "Gloves Are Off." And second is the challenge of trying to differentiate themselves largely through taxes. It seems today to be the major theme in the Sunday papers. And then third, of course, is determining, as we've kind of touched on, the actual the actual heaviness of some of the what's being put forward. How serious are these candidates, or are they kind of trying to throw their hat in the ring to raise their own visibility? So I think it will be a bloody battle, but we have to really see who the serious contenders will be in the weeks to come.
Do you think that they're managing, Nikita, to differentiate themselves?
At the moment, not so much. I think there are a lot of different candidates and a lot of videos and tweets and social media being put out. And so I think, in my opinion, it will probably take a few weeks until we're able to really see the kind of meat in some of these proposals and be able to differentiate who really stands for what.
Nigel, let's have a look at the front of your paper, the Sunday Mirror. Can we bring that up? Keir, bring on the general election, it says. Do you want to talk us through that?
Yes, this is Keir Starmer calling for a general election rather than simply a Tory leadership race to replace the Prime Minister. He's already going to try and force a vote of no confidence in the government in the House of Commons. And of course, the Tories still have a huge majority, so I doubt that is going to succeed. But he does have a point. At the moment, we've got a situation where we're about to have a new government, and it's going to be chosen by 200,000 Tory party members and a handful of MPs. And when you've got something quite so momentous as this happening, especially with all the problems the country is facing, you'd think that we should all have a say in who the next government is. But obviously we're being denied that, but Starmer is still fighting a good rearguard action, demanding that we all go to the polls.
Nikita, do you think that will resonate with a lot of people when they look at just the number of people who are choosing the next Prime Minister?
Yes, I think it will. I think it was a very interesting piece, and we're very much thinking that, if we can see the thinking of Keir Starmer that if there is a general election, at least the people, after what they've been through with various scandals in the Conservative Party, are able to kind of vote and pick their leader. But I just don't personally see that happening. I think the next step would very much be determining who the party leadership would be for the Conservative Party as it is, rather than a general election.
Nigel, what do you make of Ben Wallace not running?
I was surprised about that. It seems to be for family reasons that he's decided that he doesn't really want to be quite so much in the spotlight, and obviously he likes his job as Defence Secretary. But yes, that came as a surprise, and of course it rather upset the whole kind of the leadership lineup on the basis that as of yesterday morning, Rishi Sunak and Ben Wallace were certainly the bookies' favourites to get to the last two. And the result of Ben Wallace actually pulling out, I think, sort of enhances, say, Liz Truss's chances. And there's always the feeling that should she make the last two, she's very popular with the membership because she's a Thatcherite Mark II, effectively. She believes in the free market. She's very much a sort of traditional conservative, which they're going to like. So, I mean, the Ben Wallace thing was a huge surprise, but I think for personal reasons I can understand why he doesn't want to get involved in the fray.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's leave politics and talk about bus fares. Nikita, what are the Times saying?
Yes, I thought this was a very interesting piece. The fact that more affordable bus fares would be introduced from October for a limited period of time. To allow people and encourage people to take longer trips and cheaper fares, which is great. As we know, we're around that time and that season, we're going to be facing higher energy prices. So why not, allow for and encourage people to share transport by taking the bus. And of course, the piece highlights as well how such an initiative was being debated by government for quite some time. However, it does also shed light on the fact that this will require, significant government intervention, and one would question how long that intervention needs to last, or would people get used to this £2 bus fare and then request that it is made permanent, which raises a number of questions as to whether we can afford that. But all in all, I think a great initiative to try to get people to combat rising bills and take more public transport.
Yeah, and a lot cheaper than a train fare, isn't it? Okay, Nigel and Nikita, we're going to leave it there. We'll see you next hour. Thank you both. Still to come here on Sky News Breakfast, the Tory leadership race is gathering pace. 2 former health secretaries have now thrown their hats into the ring.